Welcome to your daily dose. My name is Robert. There's my pal Susan, and every little thing she does is magic. And also joining us today is another magic person. Her name's Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Michelle is a dear friend who, and at some time, we're going to tell the whole story, but we met under untoward circumstances, the three of us. We'll just put it that way, on a flight that really went from, well, it didn't go a lot of places, unfortunately. But we have become very good friends. We are met in the middle by Parkinson's. Michelle is a care partner for her father, who had Parkinson's. And she's also a participant in the Day One Parkinson's Prison and the Hero's Journey to Escape program. One of only a few caretakers we've had so far. And thank you so much for doing that, first of all, Michelle.
Thank you for
Yeah.
inviting me.
Yeah, you did great work and you bring a very important perspective to the room. And that's some of what I want you to share with us today. And thank you for doing that. This is a segment from the hero's journey called the Crossing the Threshold, which is, I believe, the fifth stage in the 12 stages. And, this is when the hero begins to recognize it's time to get fully invested in what's going on. And your writing was a real journey, an exploration. So would you be so kind as to share it with us and then we'll talk about it?
Sure.
Okay.
Hopefully we won't be interrupted by loud animals. Okay. The geographic distance between New York and California was irrelevant. I was always in both places at once. Some mornings I would wake up expecting to hear the sound of junior high school kids scampering across Second Avenue, avoiding being struck by a morning grocery delivery truck or a yellow cab racing across 4 lanes to score a passenger who doesn't care the cost in either dollars or minutes spent in gridlock traffic, to avoid the surprises of a rush hour downtown subway train. It takes several conscious breaths before I realize that instead, I'm hearing the melodies of finches, the squawks of blue jays, perched on power lines, competing with crows for organic waste that my semi-suburban neighbors placed outside for pickup. In Albany, California, every spring, my fellow residents and I are entitled to bagged compost, processed from all the food scraps the noisy birds missed out on. In New York, trash is trash. Piles of overfilled black bags stacked methodically in rows along the sidewalk, emitting the unmistakable smell of rotting, stewing garbage. You're from the Upper East Side? That's like Beverly Hills, right? When I came home to visit for the first time since the COVID shutdown, I started cleaning the apartment. The windowsills were so thickly coated in soot that no amount of disinfectant, bleach, scrub could penetrate. My hands ached from scrubbing. I gave up. The enclosure around the AC unit, which had been painted white at least since 1977 when my parents moved in, was now faded to a permanent shade of industrial, decaying urban gray. Being in Pacific time zone meant I had 3 extra hours each morning during which I could return phone calls, order supplies requested by home health aides, and make sure my dad's bills were paid. On a perfect day, I could also catch a 9 a.m. workout once my Eastern time tasks were done and start my own Pacific time day. On some of those days, I could even sit at the computer and FaceTime with my dad. Phone calls, which had been so convenient for my adopted car-centric California lifestyle, were no longer engaging for my dad. He was slow to talk and wasn't finishing most sentences, but he knew faces, and seeing me kept his attention as long as there wasn't a soccer game on at the same time. He could choose soccer over his daughter, and I didn't take it personally.
Michelle, that's lovely. You know, when you offer this story, there's a tremendous amount of color. Your life as a New Yorker and Californian as a bi-coastal person comes through, and that felt like that was very important because it was that divide was also a big part of your heartache, not being as close to your dad as you wanted. Yeah.
Definitely. And there's what led me to start writing that was thinking about a friend of my father's best friend who he had known since, I think, since preschool, who made me promise him that several years ago, made me promise him that I wouldn't drop everything in my life and move back there to take care of him, because that's not what my dad would have wanted. And they, and it ended up, this is what ended up coming out of that, from that thought.
It's a very difficult balance to strike, to figure what you want and what you feel your responsibility is as a caretaker versus what they want as the person who maybe would rather not be taken care of. Did you experience some of that with your dad? There was a resistance to even being taken care of at all, you or anybody?
Definitely. In stages when he needed to have someone there 24 hours a day, there was definite resistance to um, the loss of control was really difficult for him. There was constant negotiation between what he could do, what he could no longer do, and allowing for people to help him when it was appropriate, and for, you know, for the kind of help. And yeah, and he's like a really sweet person by all descriptions of anyone that knows him, but there were some times there where he, you know, was not going to be your best friend.
I can empathize deeply, as you know, my dad, of course, a man of similar age with Parkinson's. And I wonder for you, Susan, as a caretaker for your own mom, and not that she has Parkinson's, but she's 98, is that correct?
99. Yeah.
99. She's had losses and has had to accept different parts of life. And that's where we say sometimes we're talking about Parkinson's and sometimes we're talking about aging and where they meet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
had some struggles? Can you empathize with what Michelle's talking about here?
Yes, the in and out of today she's okay. She's telling stories and she's not grumpy and it's not confusing or it's not repetitive. And then other days, all those things are true. And she was here in the same town that I do, so I didn't have that dichotomous little mental thing every morning that you described so beautifully, Michelle. We talk a lot about senses in the day one program, and you did such a beautiful job of evoking most of the senses of of the trash and the garbage and the smell and the visual, this neatly stacked, yeah, bags. And your dad, some days he was, most of the days he was lovely in himself.
Yeah. And that really is the back and forth of this. There's nothing easy about this process that we go through. And I think it's very, very much underreported. And so your story is incredibly valuable and really, to me, a call to all care partners and family members out there. We hope you'll join us so that you can, you know, write your story, come to peace and terms with it in certain ways, and not only heal yourself, but help others who will be going through this, because the majority of us will be in some fashion going through this. Michelle, anything you wanted to add before we finish?
Yeah, there's actually a moment in reading that out loud with both of you, which I have to say I have had the honor of spending some time with Susan's mother and Robert's father, and you have awesome parents. And
Yeah.
and I'm the memory that I'm having in reading that description, and I'm like in the apartment, is on one of the last times that I visited my father last year before he passed. He said he was pretty out of it. He had some pretty severe dementia by then, and he said to me, he knew I was getting ready to leave the apartment, and he said to me, he said, "I know you have to leave. It's okay." And I was just, you know, okay, I'm not going to cry. I'm a crier. But I think I waited till I was out the door. But he meant what he said at that moment. He was clear about that.
That was a gift.
So,
That was such a generous thing for him to say to you.
and it's easy for me to forget it and think I didn't do enough, and I wasn't there enough, and I wasn't, but I have to remember his words to me.
There's the balance, and it's beautifully said. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. We will post a link to this. We'll put it up as a blog as well, so people can reread your words and enjoy them. You're a fantastic writer, and I look forward to seeing how you further develop your story. It's very meaningful.
Thank you. Good
This
to have
is
a fantastic teacher.
We'll see you soon.